Hey everybody, it's Dr. Woody back with your PASL Write It Up Fast, step 16 for task 3. Remember, task 3 is worth double, and this is step 3.3.1 where we move into implementation of our plan. So the first part is your discussion of the steps that your team took to implement the plan, a discussion of the team's responsibilities, the discussion of how your team sought feedback from the teachers that you were working with, proof that it was working for both teaching and learning, and a discussion of the challenges that you as a team encountered. So let's move into our written commentary. And you'll notice that I have moved back to color coding. It's very important that you take time to color code your answers because, for example, when I was working on the response for this one, I was very tired. I thought I had a pretty good response. I recorded the video. I thought about it when I slept on it. I got up the next day and looked. And by color coding, I saw that one in particular was very weak. I could see down here, we get to one where we have to have student examples and I didn't have but one thing to color blue. So I had to go back and delete what I had done, work on it a little bit more. So the color coding really is key to help you see does your answer match the question to the fullest extent possible. So let's start with the first prompt. A, what steps did you and your collaborative team take to implement the plan? Provide a rationale for the step, and if you submitted a 5-minute video segment for this section, you should include examples from it. So certainly if you made a video where you're actually working with the team on the implementation, that would be the video that goes here. I chose to write my example as if I had worked with the team and had recorded a segment about us setting the norms for the team. So either way is fine. I think it's actually easier to have the video back up the norms for the team because you don't really have a lot of other things to give evidence on that one. You're just explaining without the video. This way, I've got some work samples on this one. I have the teacher samples from the feedback, and I have student work samples. So I already have a good set of examples to work with for this one. So to implement our plan, our collaborative team followed a series of structured steps. So what I've done is I've color-coded steps where it says here with steps here. So step, beginning before school, next, following the training, each week, and finally. And then it says give it rationale for each step. So you have to tell the why. So this step was done because it ensured this. This one was because this. This one was essential because this. This one kept the work doing this. And then I wrapped it up one more time with a little more about rationales. So then go to B. What responsibility did each collaborative team assume? So that's my yellow. So you'll see all the way through, I've got each person. And there's two things. We have to talk about what encouraging feedback did I offer and why did I offer it? And so that is to the team members in particular. And give examples to support your analysis. So I had 4 team members. One is me. So I talked about what the team leader did. So this is responsibilities. We say this is what the team leader did. This is me. And that I gave some feedback, but I gave this in this case to the teachers. So team leader, I did the coaching schedule and the walkthrough tools. And I coordinated all that and facilitated weekly check-ins, which is the encouragement. Then the team producer did these things. The team encourager did these things. The team realist did these things. And the team challenger did these things. Whatever you've named your team, you can call them the first grade teacher, the math teacher, whatever you want to call them. Just be sure you've labeled your teams clearly so that you can talk about them throughout without having to say anybody's names. Also, you'll notice there's no green in this paragraph because I'm just talking about what role did they assume. And here's the example. So you'll see I'm going to need some green somewhere. So now I'm going to talk about how I have encouraged each team member. So I offered I offered the whole team this kind of encouragement. And then here's the examples. So this yellow person got this example, and this is why, and this is how I boosted. And this one did this, and this is why. And so I still felt like my green was weak, so I came back one more time and talked about their encouragement. And then this one, I needed gray. I had to have two kinds of colors there because this is how did you get feedback? This is how did it implement, how did the feedback impact the plan or the implementation of the plan? And this is how they impact the team. And then you need analysis or support for the analysis of both. Okay. So this shows you can do both descriptive and analytical writing. So this is how we got feedback. I just chose one way. I said we did a 3-week survey, and that made it easy to work with. And I've got a sample of the 3-week survey because it says you have to have some type of evidence to attach an artifact. And I've mentioned it here, artifact 3.3.1a. This artifact gives you the example that you need to talk about. So to gather feedback from the teachers, so this is the audience, from the math teachers, our team did this. We gave a 3-week survey. And the example is a graphic organizer. But now we're talking about the implementations. You can't just say we had the survey, it was helpful. We have to talk about how it changed or influenced the implementation. So here are the examples. It influenced our implementation. We studied it carefully. We analyzed how we could make the spotlight things that were going well, or how that's kind of a typo there. How we could there we go. Analyzed how we could spotlight things that were going well while adjusting areas where teachers felt frustrated. For example, some teachers noted they felt that they appreciated these things, but they needed more examples. And so in response, this person did this. They also said they felt like the walkthroughs were too frequent, and so we adjusted the schedule. And then this feedback impacted the team members because this person felt like this person felt like this, it made this person seem this. So it's important to be able to name all the parts of the step. So now this one has a lot of yellow in the question. What steps did the team take to ensure that student learning was being affected? This is so important. If you don't show that student learning is being affected as a result of the implementation plan, you're probably not going to get credit. You have to have evidence that students are learning. So I'm going to use the yellow to show what steps we took to ensure that learning was being affected. The green says what process did we use to collect the evidence, and the blue says the examples of student learning. So you got to have the blue. I've also attached an artifact of student learning C3.3.1b. So here are the things that we did to ensure that we were collecting the work. So we did this, and we did this. And then what process? Well, I guess that was how we ensured the steps we took. So I apologize. Step, step, step. Then the process. And then here's the blue. This is almost like for all the money. A representative, I'm tired, a representative page of the student learning evidence is included as artifact 3.3.1b. For example, the baseline IXL Flex diagnostic revealed that only 4 of the 24 students in one 6th grade math classroom and none of the 6th grade SPED students had mastered the foundational skill of using bar graphs to solve problems at the TEKS rigor level expected of 6th grade students. This pattern was similar in all classrooms in grades 6, 7, and 8. Knowing this, the math teachers worked together to create opportunities to practice this key skill within the context of their introductory math units on geometry by embedding bar graphs into daily warm-ups, lesson cycles, and exit tickets. They included 2 grade-appropriate bar graph problem-solving items on their weekly IXL Flex progress checks to monitor progress on mastering bar graphs. After just 3 weeks, the mastery level improved to the point that 18 of 24 students and 4 of the 6 SPED students could use bar graphs to solve problems at the TEKS rigor level expected of 6th graders. So you see I'm showing what we entered with. This was what it was like before we did this stuff. And this is what it was like after. So this is definitely a place where you must be detail-oriented in your reporting, and you have to do this descriptive writing to describe how you know that this made a difference and then to analyze the difference. So you can see the numbers for the description and the analysis of how this made a difference. And I'm going to show you this student work samples in just a second. What challenges arose during the implementation of the plan? What steps did you take? And provide examples. So one challenge was teacher fatigue. Another challenge was inconsistency. So there's my 2 challenges. And then the examples, they were overwhelmed by the new routines, blah, blah, blah. And then we what steps did we take? These are the steps. We addressed it by this person did this, we maintained this, and then here's the examples of how it supports our conclusion that these steps helped address the challenge. So we did this, we did this, we did this. So you can pause and look at that. But I would have to say of the two sections of this particular part of the test, the most important part is D, and the second most important part is C. So let me go back to show you what my work samples look like. So the directions say you have to have 1 page of feedback from the target group. So when you see target group, that just means which group of teachers are you working on? Like who is the beneficiary of your PLC work or your collaborative team is what we call it on task 3. Who is the target that this team is going to focus on to help? And then the 1 page of student learning would be evidence of what their students, the target group, how their students have improved since you started this work. So this is my sample of what the teachers used. This is a student survey, a teacher survey, and I've obviously had to just make mine up because I don't have any real teachers to survey. But I used a Canva infograph to do this. I thought it looked nice. You only have to have 1 page of your survey results. So I put, oh, it's not the best typing there, but I put some questions on the left that were the objectives. These were the actual goals that we identified earlier in our PASL write-up. And then here are some survey items. And then it would have been nice to actually have a real survey and to have the open-ended questions and some analysis. A Google form works great for this, but I wrote this up this way. So if you have a Google form and you've got the results, you can do that. If you've got any type of survey tool, you can use those. But I also analyzed the takeaways on track, at risk, on track, and it's sort of a discussion that matches what we've got in the written commentary. So let me show you our student work here. Now remember, I have to use Google Images to find my samples. I can't actually get real students to do these things. But this is a sample of what a flex diagnostic strand analysis looks like. It's okay for what we're doing. I was able to take the data here on this. I actually used this little part right here to be able to describe what was going on with these kids. And so use bar graphs to solve problems. I could have gone into more depth and done a better job if this had been real data that I was really using. But I left a little bit of the student names sticking out so you could kind of see that this was real students. It doesn't matter what your work sample looks like as long as you can prove that there is some improvement. It would have been better if I could have shown like a growth graph, like projected growth and what's actually happening with growth, or some type of sample of like these 5 students before and these 5 students after. But remember, you can cut and paste multiple screenshots onto one Word document and then save it as a PDF. So you can get your before and after if you don't have a chart. Anything you can do to show the progress is going to be helpful. So one more look at the task itself. If you do the video, remember you can only trim the beginning or the end, but you cannot trim the video itself. So an unedited segment of a video. And then make sure that you answer all the questions fully, and you're going to be fine. Look under the bed. There's no monster under there. You've got this. PASL is not that scary. You can certainly get this done. I believe in you, and I hope to be back soon with your video 17.